piecing documents for everybody. For example, the one brother who was the star witness against me, right?
Your brother.
Right. I had documents showing not only had he'd paid someone to take his SAT. When he filed for to be administrator of my mom's estate, he left me off the list of beneficiaries.
Okay.
That he had stolen almost $1 million from our disabled sister.
Okay, this is not the fellow who bailed you out of Miami.
Yeah, the same one. Yeah,
Okay.
the same one.
Okay.
The same one.
I'm just trying to sort this out. Okay.
The same guy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he's turned dramatically from the bailout.
Exactly.
Okay, welcome to Inside Out. I'm your host, James Catledge. We've got a special episode today. We've got Jehu Hand, lawyer, and we met inside a federal prison facility. Welcome, Jehu. Glad you're here.
Hey, I'm so glad to see you again, James. You're looking good.
You too, brother. Glad to have you. We've got Mama Catledge here too. Welcome, Mom.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. She's got her own questions for Jehu.
Right.
We're going to hit those. Jehu, let's do this for the audience. I know you very well. I know you to be a straight shooter, authentic guy, a lawyer by trade, a lawyer, with a prestigious, credentials, pedigree. And we had some experiences on the inside. We'll get into some of those here today. Sure. I think the audience will enjoy hearing those. But tell us how a guy like you, with your extreme professional background, you're the type of guy who goes to the corner to cross the street. You don't cross the street where it's convenient. I mean, you go to the light and hit the button and wait for the thing to clear. You're a Boy Scout, literally. How does a guy like you get mixed up in the criminal justice system?
Well, I think part has to do with the way the government operates, and part of his family.
Okay.
Because growing up, my mother was an invalid, and although I'm the second oldest, I became like the dad of the house.
Okay.
I cooked, I cleaned, I raised my younger brothers and sisters, and I was always the kid that did everything right. And I would, if any of my brothers fell out of line, I would say, don't do that. So I was like their dad. Okay?
Right.
And is what happened growing up, because my mom was bedridden, my brothers would do crazy things, as unsupervised young men might do.
Sure.
And I knew nothing about it because they didn't want me to know, because if I knew that a 13-year-old brother was smoking marijuana, I would have called the police.
Yeah, right.
That's the way I am. Now,
right.
Some people would say that I'm a jerk, I'm a bad, but that's the way I am. I have I guess you could say ADHD for following the rules.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Well, I know this is not just some speech you're giving me here. I know this firsthand. You actually came to me inside of our facility and said, hey, I got a problem.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what you were going to lay on me, but you said, hey, look, I've created a problem inside this facility because I've got a compulsion, literally a compulsion, when I see the rules not being followed, and you actually did the undoable, which is to rat or tell on someone inside a federal facility. You actually did that because that's the way you do things.
Right.
And always have.
And I was practiced securities law for a long time. I started with what they call big law, with the big law firm.
Yeah.
The kind that you'd read about our deals in the Wall Street Journal on the first page. Okay?
Right.
And I went on my own eventually because I like the personal touch of being in a small law firm. But I had two brothers who had been stockbrokers and who understood that stock market, and being the older brother, I was out helping them out, and came to me with a couple deals, and being kind of naive in some ways as I didn't realize what they're going to do, and I didn't realize that they had plans that they weren't going to tell me about because I wouldn't have let them do it.
Right.
So.
Right.
You asked, that's one of the reasons, and the other has to do with the way the federal government operates, and the way that I got them upset about my attitude about the laws and about what they were doing. I had a website criticizing criticizing the scams that were going on in the securities world, and criticizing the SEC, and during the time when this happened, and before I got arrested. So I was on their radar. I think I told you about that one deal where I got on the radar where they thought I was a bad guy, and
Yeah.
I showed them I was not.
You remind me a little bit, Jehu, and I know you as a friend, but you remind me of that guy, and I'm trying to help the audience connect here. You remind me of that guy that Bernie Madoff had. He kept finding the fraud in Bernie Madoff's stuff, and
Right.
he kept reporting it to the SEC, and he would give them binders of proof.
Exactly.
And you remember this guy?
I know the guy. The name escapes me.
Yeah.
And eventually, the Boston office listened to him, but the New York office just blew him off every time.
And he went back a decade after decade with more and more proof. He knew mathematically, he's as smart as you are, and he knew mathematically that this is not possible what Madoff's doing.
Right.
That guy reminds me of you.
Well, okay, thank you. Well, his Harry something or other, but
Yeah. And that personality type is really what you're describing.
yeah, right.
It's the straight shooter, the straight arrow, who's smart enough to see nonsense when it appears, and it wants nothing to do with it. And if not just nothing to do with it, wants to fix it, wants to make it right.
And you know, a few weeks ago, you had Jim Wheeler on.
Right.
And when I met Jim Wheeler, I found out that we shared a common denominator in that he was involved with a promoter who basically told him, "I won't do this. I won't break the law. I know I'm not going to do this other bad thing." And the same guy was brought in by my brothers, and he told me the same story.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to do this bad thing that you think I might do because of this reason.
Tell me what a pump and dump is. Explain that to the audience.
Yeah, that's a pump and dump is when you have a public company, it's trading, and the perpetrators put out press releases, which are generally false, in order to jack up the price of the stock.
They're pumping the stock.
Yeah, pump it up, and after they and all their friends sell, the price collapses.
Okay.
And usually involves a company that really doesn't exist. It's it's just a box of papers. It's made up. Yeah.
All right. There are no real revenues.
Right.
There are no real operations. There's not officers and a board.
Yes.
And these are typically traded on the penny stocks or the pink sheets.
Right. And you know, that whole market has evolved over time because I was reporting this on my websites. I got to understand the way these really work, and it's like at least back then it was a little cottage industry.
Yeah.
Because you'd have companies or promoters paying people to put out these email blasts, and they would also pay other people to report on and say, well, Stock Psycho, whenever they do a promotion, they're getting paid $100,000 for this, and this is how the stock goes up and goes down.
Yeah.
So basically, when all this happened, everybody knew what this was.
Right.
And in fact, in my case, you look at the email blast, and it basically says, this is a scam. We're going to pump the stock up, and it's going to fall down, so get in and sell before it falls.
Okay.
All right?
So let's back up just a touch. Are you the lawyer that created the company, the actual corporate filing for this publicly traded company?
Well, yes and no, because what happened, when I started working, I had a lot of ambition, and I only slept every other night. Okay? Very intense work, and I did it for a long time. And eventually I burned out by the time I was in my 40s. And I also owned a stock brokerage company. So what I did for most of my revenues, I'd find a company that was public company that was broken down, and I'd clean it up, and I'd make everything neat and clean, and I'd sell it, make a little bit of money.
Okay.
And I never had problems with any of them. And some of them, they'd be household names, the companies that are now in them. Okay.
These are shell companies.
Yeah, they're shell
It's
companies.
a standard business practice.
Right.
People don't work. They file to be a company. It doesn't work out for whatever reason. And that company, instead of just dissolving it, it can be purchased, cleaned up, and reused or repurposed.
Right. And I'm like the guy that would build fast cars. Okay.
Yeah.
I make them so they run well, reliable, and so I made these companies so that there wouldn't be problems down the road.
Yeah.
And because my brothers were involved, I just didn't come to my mind it was going to be misused.
Okay. So because it's family, you feel like, I'd love to participate in this.
Right. Well, what I did basically is I said, you're going to have all this success. Great. Let me keep 4% of the stock. The company that would normally get paid a few $100,000 for, you can have.
Yeah.
Because I was leaving the country for family reasons.
Yeah.
And I went on to get another degree, university degree.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is family. I'm going to help them out.
Yeah.
And how much were you getting paid?
I didn't get paid anything. I did the work for free. I gave them the company. And when the pump happened, I never sold any of my stock.
You were out of the country.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what was going on because I was literally at sea.
Yeah. If the company succeeds, you've got 4% of it. If it fails,
Right.
you get paid nothing.
Right, I get paid nothing. And as my defense attorney told the jury, because I went to trial, this is a pro bono fraud.
Yeah.
This is a guy that the government accuses of being a mastermind, and not only didn't make any money,
Yeah.
he had a few $100,000 in the deal.
Yeah, right.
Based on it being successful.
Right. Let's. How did you become aware that there's a case against you?
After I was arrested.
Oh, wow.
Because-
Where were you arrested?
At Miami Airport. You see, the day before,
Okay.
I was visiting a client in Mexico, and I was transiting Miami. And the day before I flew out, I got a call from one of the people who'd been arrested and was
Okay.
going to jail. And he calls me to protest he's going to jail. And so I thought, good, because this guy, I knew that he had done something bad.
Okay, all
He'd
right.
ripped off my client.
Okay.
And I put in a call to the U.S. attorney on his case because I wanted to help out.
Yeah, here we
with
are
this
again.
bad guy.
Here we are again.
So I never imagined
In a million years,
and
yeah.
when after I was bailed out, after my initial arrest, I was talking to one of my brothers, and he says, "Do I have any exposure?" And I said, I don't want to mention his name. I said,
Yeah.
"I don't know what you did."
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, because
Yeah.
I wasn't around. I knew that I hadn't sold any of my stock. I hadn't. When you asked me if I was a lawyer, I prepared the company, but when they were taken over, there's two companies, they had their own lawyers.
I see.
That managed everything, that
Yeah.
put out the press releases, that
Got it.
did all, arranged all. I was not involved with that.
All right, let's get back to Miami. You're coming back from a international trip. You've been on a boat for quite a while.
Yeah.
You with your family.
Yeah.
And you're trying to come back to the United States for business purposes. You land in Miami.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for you at the gate.
No, when I'm passport control, they told me to wait, and they segregate me. And I'd been to the U.S.
You're
every
clearing
couple
customs.
months. Yeah, I'd been to the U.S. every couple months.
Sure.
And it turns out they must have gotten notice of my flight plans, and they hurriedly did an information, and like 2 days before I flew, and that's what they arrested me on.
Okay, so you're taken into a room in the Miami airport,
Right.
at near customs,
Right.
And what do you think this is? What do you think's happening?
I have
What's
no
in your
idea.
mind?
Well, a few years before, I'd been sent to secondary a lot.
Okay, to be
and-
searched or something.
Searched, yes, they did it for a while. I don't know why.
So you're thinking they've confused you with some drug trafficker or something?
I don't. I think that I got on the bad list again. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
never heard. I did a FOIA on that, and they would never tell me what it was. They just stopped doing it.
FOIA is a Freedom of Information Act filing.
Right, because I never tried to smuggle anything. I
Right.
never
So
had.
you really have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
you're,
no
you're,
idea.
you're sitting in a room waiting for them to come back and tell you. So when do you realize, oh my goodness, this is about the company that I helped form? When do you put that together?
I didn't get that because I don't get any paperwork till the next Monday. I was arrested on a Friday.
Okay.
So I sit in the jail until
Are you
Monday.
in the airport jail? Are you taken into the Miami? Where are you
Eventually,
taken?
I'm in the federal detention center in Miami.
Okay, you're in the FDC in Miami.
Yeah.
And you're making your phone call, I assume. Who do you call?
Well, I call my family. I call everybody.
Okay.
And they arrange to have a lawyer, represent me.
Okay.
To get me bailed out.
All right, so we get you bailed out. Do you remember
Yeah.
what bail was?
$15,000. No, it was $3 million.
Okay, okay.
And they haven't told you what they're
No,
holding you?
I didn't find out. You had to be arraigned within 2 days, whatever it is, 2 days
Of the arrest.
So it was Monday morning when I walked into court.
Okay.
They told me that, but I didn't get bailed out till a week later.
Does the attorney review the charges with you in the FDC?
No, not really.
Not really. So you hear them from the bench.
I read the charging document.
Okay, you read in the detention center or on your way to the arraignment.
In the detentions, it's in the same building.
Okay, you're reading, and you're really good. I know this. You're really, really good with legal documents. What do you think when you read it?
Everything in here is a lie.
Okay,
I didn't do any of these things.
So it's made up. It was a grand jury panel to create this true bill.
That was done later. This was the information. So an FBI agent did an affidavit saying,
Okay.
I know all about these things,
All right.
and this is what he did.
All right, so they moved quickly on you then. There's been no grand jury and no grand jury evidence here.
That's right.
Okay, they moved quickly and filed an information because they knew you were coming back to the United States.
Right.
Got it. Okay, wow. Okay, so you get bailed out.
Yeah.
And nobody's got $3 million. So how do you get out? 30 grand?
This one brother was who was one of the perpetrators. He said, "I'll put up my house and everything I have
okay.
for this,
All right.
and he'll stay with me." And
Okay.
I thought, initially
He's
I
in
thought,
Florida.
that's great.
Where is he?
He's in North Carolina.
So he's just doing what he can to help you.
Yeah, yeah. And, I was very grateful for that. Of course, I had done a lot for him in his life.
Sure. It's just family.
Yeah,
So you're helping
but
out.
I was in with him about a few weeks, and I realized that something's not right here.
Okay, so is he involved in the company as well?
Yeah, he was the
Okay.
principal guy.
All right, and the other
main
brother
one,
is
yeah.
as well?
Yes.
Okay, so they're both involved in this company.
Yeah.
In the information you read in the detention center, did it name things about them that they had done?
No, you see, they were behind the scenes in that company.
Okay.
So it didn't mention them at all.
It's just got you. He's got you.
It says
stuff
that
in
I
it.
wrote press releases and I did this and sold shares and which is
And you've been
none of it.
away.
I've been well. When all this happened, what happened with that first company is it was owned by a client of mine. People agreed to buy it, and the money for the sale was held in escrow with a reputable lawyer.
Yeah.
And so the terms were these guys would get turned over control, and they would have part of what goes on with this. They want their people to own the stock.
Okay.
They don't want people that they don't know.
Sure, strangers.
So
Yeah.
as soon as that was turned over, they're supposed to pay with money in escrow. And to the lawyer, I called the lawyer, and he says, "Okay, send the money." He says, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "I just talk to you. I talk to you every week."
Yeah.
So they went and they did their thing, and I didn't know what they're going to do.
Okay.
Because I didn't know these.
So did
folks.
we repossess this company? I mean, what?
We did repossess
Okay,
it. Yes,
okay.
we did repossess it.
Okay.
But by then they'd already made their money and gone
And
on
we
their way.
repurposed it after repossessing
That
it.
one we didn't do because that client I had, he needed the money badly. He
Okay.
was having some financial problems. He wanted to sell it.
Okay.
And he didn't have the money to do anything. It just died there. Yeah.
What does that company have to do with this
Exactly.
arrest?
Well, that was the company that was alleged that I was involved in doing all these bad things and
Oh,
selling my
okay.
shares.
I see.
And one of the brothers had brought that to me, and he brought all the promoters with it, and he
Okay.
got money out of it, though
I see.
no one told me. I found that out later.
I got you. Okay, so you don't really realize your brothers are involved.
No, and so they get together with the same promoters and cook up to do this with the company that I gave my
Describe
brothers.
to me what a promoter is and how they work with these pump and dumps. Explain to me what a promoter
A
is.
promoter basically is the mastermind that organizes everything. He
Okay.
lines up the publicity. He gets the shares where he wants them to be.
From a price standpoint?
Yeah, and where they want to be located so they can be sold because you have to
Okay.
sell through a broker.
Okay, through an exchange.
So he lines up the people, and with this case, they were all his friends and family.
Okay.
Okay. And what's funny about this is that, he was asked at trial, did Jehu Hand know that you controlled all these people? And he said, no, I told them they were friendly to me.
Okay.
Which means
Yeah.
that no, they're not. There's no.
Yeah.
So they were friends of his wife, his son, his son's friends,
Okay.
and other people that
Got
he
nothing to
brought
do with
in.
you.
No,
You're not
I
a
didn't-
promoter. You know nothing about this other than you were legally involved in the corporate setup.
Right. I made I made the fast car and turned it over to people.
Got it. Okay. So let's speed ahead a little bit.
Okay.
So you're in the detention center. You've been bailed out. Your family's involved. When is your first move to hire a criminal defense lawyer and begin to defend yourself? Because you got to get some representation here.
Yeah, I talked to someone who was, and this took place in Boston, so I got a quote for $1.5 million.
Okay. We can handle this. No problem.
Yeah,
$1.5 million.
Yeah, and I didn't have
Okay.
that kind of money.
Right.
And so I had a really good friend who teaches securities law. He's a law professor
Okay.
in a law school, and I talked to him.
You had him
and-
review it. the
Yeah, I
case.
had him review it,
Okay.
or go over everything, and he said, Jehu, you did nothing wrong. You did everything correct. So I thought, that's what I thought too. So
Yeah, it
I have
feels
to fight
good.
this.
It feels
so
good. Yep.
He had a friend who's one of the best defense lawyers in
Boston?
in San Diego.
Okay.
Because I'm in California.
Okay.
I had got back to California, and he agreed to do it for reduced fee. That I would do all the legwork, review almost 1 million pages of documents that were given.
I see, the discovery.
Discovery, right. And I do all the work, and he's great in court, but as far as you give him a piece of paper, 5 minutes later he can't find it.
Okay.
That's the kind of guy he is. But he's
Disorganized guy.
Brilliant in court.
Yeah, okay. So you basically are now deep-throated involvement in defending yourself here.
Correct.
This is your full-time career, is now defending yourself.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For a couple years.
And you're in San Diego in a conference room at a law firm explaining to this lawyer how to defend you.
Right, and he's a very smart guy, Harvard grad,
Yeah.
the best, but still it took me 4 hours to explain all the law.
Sure.
But, here's how a mistake I made, and we made, is that we assumed that the government was going to say, these are the elements of the crime, and this is what he did for each one.
Yep.
It ain't like that.
It's not at all like that.
It's not at all like that, because
No.
if it takes a Harvard law grad 4 hours to understand your case, the jury is not going to understand anything.
Ever.
All the government does at trial is say, look at this thing, look at this, look at this.
Right.
And sometimes it's misleading, and sometimes it'll show you prove the witness will say X, and the government will say the opposite.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
you're a
that's just
smart
how it
guy.
is.
You're going to come across as a smart guy, and the juries are going to see you as a guy who knows better, and you're in trouble. I mean, our criminal justice system isn't good for guys like you and I.
Well, in Boston, they burn the witches.
That's right. That's right. So when do you realize, and maybe it's never, but I want to ask the question, when do you realize, hey, listen, this may be a no-win situation? Do you ever get to that point, or do you believe, hey, look, they're going to turn over the paperwork and realize that this doesn't meet the standard of a crime, they're going to realize this, and this thing's going to go away? I mean, what is your position on this?
I never thought, because a couple hearings we had, the AUSAs, the U.S. attorneys, they were like yelling and about how evil I was, and terrible, and I wasn't seeing the light. And
okay, you're denying your responsibility in this, and you're refusing to accept responsibility, and that's their position.
Right.
So, do you get to a point where you realize, hey, listen, I'm surrounded here. I may not be equipped to defend myself at trial. I could lose this. I mean, do you get there or not?
That's the first day of trial when I feel that way.
Okay. So how long did it take from the Miami arrest to the first day of trial?
That would have been, I guess, about 18 months.
Okay. So for 18 months, you're believing, all right, I just got to show them the path here.
Right, yeah.
Just got to show them the right documents. I got a box full of facts, and I've just got to show it to these guys, and they're going to realize that I'm part of the good fabric of the USA.
And it's the kind of thing where I know this person's going to be a witness, so I have everything on them, and numbered tabs with explanations.
yes.
So it's all laid out perfectly.
Yeah, no way to lose this.
Yeah.
Because the facts are on my side.
Yeah.
And the best thing of all, I'm a truth teller, and I have the truth in my box here.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to make up something if you're going to counter my truth box.
Correct. And, you know, I had impeaching documents for everybody. For example, the one brother who was the star witness against me, right?
Your brother.
Right. I had documents showing not only had he lied, he'd paid someone to take his SAT. When he filed for to be administrator of my mom's estate, he left me off the list of beneficiaries.
Okay.
That he had stolen almost $1 million from our disabled sister.
Okay, this is not the fellow who bailed you out of Miami.
Yeah, the same one. Yeah,
Okay.
the same one.
Okay.
The same one.
I'm just trying to sort this out. Okay.
The same guy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he's turned dramatically from the bailout.
Exactly. And now leads me to believe that the bailout was mostly to protect himself.
Or maybe he didn't realize that he was also in trouble.
No, he must have known.
You think he had to have known at that time?
He had been a stockbroker. He knew.
He had to have known. And he certainly knew his behavior. He knew what he had done.
Yeah.
Even if you were in the dark about it, he knew.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you get to trial day.
Yes.
We've paneled a jury.
Yeah.
And you're prepared to are you going to take the stand, or have you been talked out of that?
I think it was easy to talk me out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, lawyers don't want you to ever do that.
You know, I'd been I testified so many times in so many matters.
Yeah.
They had bankers at boxes of my testimony
From other cases.
and they could have pulled out something here and say, well, you said this.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
so-
gotcha game there.
yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to see a lot of law shows to know not a good idea to be on the stand.
It was at 10 minutes after trial began, I knew that it was not going to work out.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so we began. It's
Yeah.
very formal. USA versus Jehu Hand.
Yes.
Which is very intimidating.
Yes.
Very frightening.
That's what the clerk of the court said.
right.
Read out USA, used United States of America versus Jehu Hand.
Right. What's the feeling in your gut in that moment?
That's pretty scary. But that's not what made me, that's not what
Is it-
trained my mind. That's not it.
Are you scared or are you sad? I mean, is it a combination of both? I mean, what's really the can you take me back there?
Well, think about if you're a guy with a spear and a mammoth or a bear is charging you. That's the kind of feeling.
Right, you
I
gotta-
feel like I'm prepared, but yeah.
This seems daunting.
Yes.
Yeah, I know firsthand. So in that moment, you realize, okay, I could be outnumbered here.
It was actually 5 minutes after that.
All right, what happened?
The judge starts talking and referring to me as Jehu Hand.
Okay, so he's got your name mixed up.
Right, and it's just like, as I explained before, it's like we're talking here, and I got your business card, and everyone's calling you James.
Yes.
And you know that's your name, right?
Yeah.
But I start talking to you, calling you Jeff.
Yeah.
And all through this meeting, through hours, I call you Jeff.
Yeah.
And there's two explanations for me doing that.
Yeah.
One is
Disrespectful.
disrespectful, or
I'm crazy.
yeah, right. And,
Yeah.
and you know that even though you're not a neurologist, right?
No,
You don't need a
I've
degree.
no training
something's
in
wrong. And
neurology.
so
Yeah.
his, and I think he's a very smart guy, a very good judge.
What do you attribute it to? What's happening?
He's 78 years old.
Okay, he's just outaged the scenario. Well, here's the other thing that we haven't pointed out.
Yeah.
You don't surprise a judge and show up for trial. We've been working on this for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's seen documents, motions, evidence. Your name is on every piece of paper reviewed by that judge for 2 years. So it's not like we've snuck up on him,
No.
right?
He was assigned to the last minute because the other
Oh, he
judge
was.
couldn't.
So it is a new case.
But my name's there. My name is there.
Okay, and he's heard the prosecutors pronounce your name, and,
Yeah,
and of
everybody.
course your attorneys, and even the clerk who stands up and says, "We're here on the matter of USA versus Jehu Hand." I mean, all that occurs in the courtroom.
You know, about most of the way through the trial, he starts the day by saying, "I've been told by my staff that I'm mispronouncing the defendant's name."
Okay.
And it really is Jehu.
Okay.
Okay, so that means that his staff isn't telling him, and when they tell him, he doesn't even hear that correctly.
Right,
And
right,
of course,
right. Yeah.
that whole discussion he had was not in the transcript. It was left out.
Okay.
And the court reporter did not report accurately what the judge was saying at any time.
You've interpreted this mispronunciation as he's against me.
No, I interpret that he's mentally not there.
Okay, and are there other things that say he's not there other than the mispronunciation? Are there other things happening in the courtroom that the judge is giving you signals this guy's off?
That was it, because of course, look, I don't pretend to be a medical person, but I
Sure.
know one of the signs of that kind of mental problem is when you remember older things very well. I mean,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
would spit out the instructions on something from memory just impeccably.
yeah.
But when it came to my name, when the moment,
Yeah.
he wasn't. And my position is, and what I argued with the.
You filed something later.
I filed something later.
Yeah, dealing
says
with this.
That per se, that's unfair trial.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
the judge doesn't know the defendant's name,
Yeah.
that's an unfair trial.
Yeah, right. Well, it seems like the judge ought to know that. Let's stay on this a little bit.
Sure.
How long does this trial last?
3 weeks.
All right, whoa. But you know, early in, 5 hours in, this is not right. This is not going to go well.
Right. And then the judge said you get 15 minutes for closing argument.
Okay.
15 minutes after 3 weeks of
So
testimony.
during this 3 weeks, is there a sea change in your feeling or your temperament? Is there any moment during those 3 weeks where you say, you know what, I think this tide has shifted in my favor here?
Trial is like a war because there's good days and bad days.
Yes.
So there were days when I thought, yes, this is great.
We
And
got
then-
our word across here. We
right.
communicating.
Like, this one brother who was a star witness against me. Sometimes when he would say something, the jury would laugh.
Okay,
because they
'cause
knew
it was insane.
It was a complete lie.
Okay.
They knew he was lying.
All right.
But there's other days when just the way the government would play games.
Sure.
For example, okay, so when someone takes over a company, you do a press release. That's what you do because so everybody knows there's a change, and so the government says, here's this email from Hand, and in that email it said, I saw your press release. I don't like it. Okay, that's October 23rd.
Okay.
A month later, these crazy people start putting out these press releases.
Yes.
A month later, and the government says, see all these press releases that Mr. Hand wrote?
Okay.
See, that makes no sense.
These are the promoters that are writing
Promoters,
this press
right.
release.
There's no sense when the first release, which no one sees because we don't have it anymore,
Yes.
when I say I don't like it, and then for them to say these are the press releases
Is your
Hand
attorney
wrote,
objecting to this?
you can't object to that.
Oh, okay.
No, because that's a government argument, and you even the government can lie during their presentation, and you don't object. You just don't.
All right.
You know, the jury is supposed to know better.
Yeah, you can object to a witness's what you're doing to a witness, but when the prosecution presents their side of things, you cannot object.
Right,
to that.
or when they phrase questions a certain way, you can't. No,
interesting. Yeah, I always felt myself that, and my attorney did a great job communicating with me that James, if we go to trial, I know what you're looking for. You're looking for an opportunity to pull out your box of facts and explain things.
Yeah.
You're looking for that. He goes, trials are not set up for that moment. There's no moment in the trial, no matter how long it lasts, where you'll be given an opportunity to tell the continuous story of James Catledge. That's not going to happen.
Well, you know,
you're under some delusion if you think that's going to happen.
I had no choice because the government refused to even offer me a deal. They said, everyone out, I didn't hear this for myself from them, but my attorney said, everyone pleads out and we never get to practice. So we're going to trial no matter what you say.
Okay. So you got, see, only 4% of cases ever go to trial.
Yeah.
So you're one of the 4, which is kind of a great interview, really, the idea. Were you a part of the voir dire where you select the jury? Were you a part of that process with your attorneys?
Yeah, we went over people, different
You
people.
did, and you crossed people out for certain
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
Do you remember crossing someone out, and for what reason?
Yeah, we had one guy who people, my lawyer said they knew too much. They were a compliance guy for a bank.
Oh, okay.
And so that person was too much.
Got it.
One lady we should have crossed out. Her grandfather was a judge.
Okay.
And so we should have cut her out. But
All right.
we had a limited number of
cross
preemptives,
outs.
right?
You get so many, the prosecution gets so many.
Right.
What would make you want them on the jury? What were the things you were looking for to be on the jury?
Well, one, of course, the people that the government struck out. We had a lesbian woman, someone who'd had a drug problem before.
All right.
Because they'd be more sympathetic.
I see. Yeah. They've been judged harshly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's funny that when they bring people in, for the jury, the pool, one guy stands up and says, the whole system is a fraud, and
we
blah, blah,
want
blah.
that guy.
Yeah, and the judge says, go away.
Please leave now.
Yes.
We can't use this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so we're now 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
We're in closing arguments. Do you know that you've lost this case in closing argument before the jury's dismissed? I mean, do you know?
No.
Or you have hope?
I have a lot of hope. And when I'm convicted, I'm like stunned.
Okay. So
I'm
we're going to
stunned.
get there. Just work with me here. We're going to get there. So you have hope that when that jury goes, is your hope based in religion? Is your hope based in the facts that got revealed at trial? Is your hope based in God above? What is your hope? Can you give me where your hope is nested here?
It's purely in my rational understanding of what I've seen.
Okay. That's a great answer. So it's in your rational understanding of what you've witnessed at trial. I think they have enough to acquit me.
Yep.
Okay. So they go away. You and your attorneys look at each other. How many attorneys you got?
I had my
Your main guy?
main guy, and had a local counsel.
All right, so you got 2 and you.
Right.
2 and you. You go back into some ante room offside the courtroom there, courthouse there, and you discuss with optimism that we got our word across here.
My main attorney had some other things, so he left, and so with the local counsel, I said, if I get convicted, these are the reasons why I shouldn't go right to prison. I write him a memo on that.
Okay,
that
you're
morning.
preparing basically for worst case
I'm preparing
scenario.
everything. Yes, I'm that kind of person.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so I got it. You're not really savoring the moment of, oh, we did it. We did the job here. We've done all we can do.
Yeah.
You're not having that kind of moment. You've moved right into preparation for worst case scenario.
You always do that anyway. You always prepare for everything.
Well, I guess I'm asking, was there a moment where you felt like I've done all I can here?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, how long did that last?
Every day I felt I'd done everything I could.
How long did that last? The jury's gone. You're alone with your lawyers. How long did that feeling?
And when I was called back to the courtroom about 4 hours later, and
4 hours after they're dismissed.
Right.
Did you stay around the courthouse?
I went to the hotel and
Okay.
yeah,
You're waiting for a phone call?
right.
Your attorney calls you?
Yeah,
And he says, hey, the jury's back.
yeah, yep.
Okay. So you guys, all three of you meet together? Is the other guy back? He's got something to do.
No,
Did he
he's
come?
gone. He's gone. He's
So it's
already
you
gone.
and local counsel.
Yeah,
So you go back in, you sit at your side of the courtroom.
yeah.
What are you feeling?
I so scared.
Fear.
Totally scared. Yeah,
Total fear.
Yeah, fear. Yeah.
Have you ever felt fear like that ever?
I don't know if I have. No. Don't
Yeah.
think I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you really don't know what the
Yeah.
answer is going to be here.
Yeah.
Okay. So they come back in, they file in, jury foreman stands up.
Yeah.
You got a feeling at this moment?
No.
No feeling.
No.
You do not know where this is going.
No. I mean, if I had to say, I would say I was going to be acquitted of everything. But
Right.
That's, what
That's
I
your
thought.
belief.
Yeah, I
Because
do.
you know the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So jury foreman says, we, the jury, in the above following case,
Yeah.
find the defendant guilty.
Right, on 6 counts.
That's what I wanted to know. How many counts?
There were 8. There were 8 counts I was accused of, and I was acquitted on 2. Yeah.
Okay. Which 2 were dismissed?
Well, they weren't dismissed.
Acquitted.
I was charged with destruction of documents.
Okay. So they let that one off.
Right, because the documents were there all along.
Okay. So they got, so that's good. All right. So some reasoning there.
right, yeah.
What was the other one?
There was 2 counts on
Of
different.
that?
Yeah, 2 counts on that. Right.
So the 6, what were the 6?
There were 2 wire fraud,
Okay.
1 for each company, 2 securities fraud, and 2 conspiracy.
Oh boy, these are so broad. These
Right,
are the broad sweeping
because-
charges.
Because, in the conspiracy, I don't want it too wonky here, but if I know you're doing something criminal and I do something legal to help you,
Well,
that's
you're involved in a conspiracy. Yeah,
I'm
because you
just-
acknowledge.
And I'm just as guilty of all the charges as if I'd done them myself.
That's right. That's the way the law is written.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible one. Conspiracy is the catch-all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually has a maximum of 5 years, though, because
Correct.
it's the catch-all. And they use it often. The securities in the wire are very easy to prove. Wire fraud can be a bad email.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be money moving around. And securities fraud is just basically lack of preparation, the way the SEC wants you to file your documents.
Yeah.
It just be
Well,
done wrong.
yeah.
So
Misstatements, yeah.
These are lightweight scenarios. So I want you, if you can, take us back. You're found guilty on 6 of the 8 counts. It's really irrelevant the 2 that get acquitted on, because 6 is enough to go. You're going.
Yeah.
Each one of these carries a term of what? Each one of the 6.
The conspiracy are 5 years, the others are 20.
Each one is 20.
Yeah.
And they can run concurrent or consecutive,
No, on this case, no, they be concurrent.
but they can run both,
It's
right?
almost impossible on this
All right.
kind of charge. Yes.
So they're going to need to run consecutive, all 6, but 20 is your exposure.
Concurrent.
Yeah.
Concurrent. Sorry, I said
Yeah,
it wrong.
right.
So, but your exposure is 20.
It is, but my lawyer who told me I was facing 6 if I was convicted.
Okay, but
He said
he's
6.
not the boss here.
No, but he's a very experienced guy. He says you're facing probably 6 years.
All
if
right,
you're
all
convicted.
right,
Yeah.
all right. But the moment of truth has not occurred yet.
No, that's sentencing. That's months later.
Okay, so you're sitting there.
Yeah.
How long do you sit there?
Well, I'm standing until they put handcuffs on me.
Oh, they detain you immediately.
That's correct. Yes.
You were not released to return for sentencing.
No, he's
I
guilty.
wasn't.
You were detained instantly. You're taken back a stage. Is
Yeah.
there a facility inside that courthouse?
Oh, yeah.
To hold you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're taken there.
Yep.
Are you in a holding cell with other men, or are you by yourself?
I'm just by myself.
All right, what are your thoughts?
I'm just stunned, and it's a pretty low moment. That's for sure.
The lowest?
Just about. Yeah. That whole day was about the lowest moment in my life.
The lowest.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So what do you do in that moment? What do you do? It's the lowest. What do you do? What do you do in that moment?
Actually, my worry was about my family because, I'm a grown man, but I got a wife, I got a teenage daughter that I have sole custody of. I have other kids that depend on me financially.
Has any of this come to mind prior to this moment?
I had no preparation for this at all, right?
No, I prepared, as pretty well as I could. I told them there was a possibility, and they knew. But that doesn't diminish the fact that they're gonna really suffer. That's what was really in my mind.
What do you do alone in that cell?
Hey, there's nothing you can do. I just wait until they put me in a van and take me
You
to
just
this.
talk to God? I mean, what do you do?
That happened that night when I got to the prison. Yeah, that's
So you get transferred from this courthouse to another facility.
right to a state facility, Walpole, which is a famous old prison.
Walpole, and you're in a federal wedge or a federal
Wing, yeah, federal wing, yeah.
of that local prison.
And they have the bars that slide in,
Okay.
close, and that's when
Okay, you're in a cell.
and I'm standing there, cell by myself, close to the guard because he's worried about me.
What's the cell look like?
It's probably I think about 6 by 8 or something like that.
What's in there?
Has a bed, has a metal desk with a seat on it.
Is there a sink in there?
Yeah, there's a sink. There's
Toilet?
a toilet.
There's a toilet in there?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a shower in there?
No.
Okay, so all that's in there, a couple of hooks.
Yeah.
All right, just you. Is it a bunk bed or a solo bed?
It's a solo bed. This prison has only solo.
So you're by
cells.
yourself in there.
Yeah.
Is the mirror metal?
I don't remember that.
Or
Sorry.
you can't see your face?
I don't think. No, there's no mirror.
All right, no mirror.
I remember because I went to shave that
Yeah,
night.
sure.
And because the razors are so crappy, my face is all cut up.
cutting your
and there's
face.
blood everywhere. And the CO is just panicked.
Yeah, he
says,
thinks you're cutting yourself.
no, he thinks that someone's going to come and think I've been attacked or something.
Yeah.
So that's when he got a mirror for me and helped me cleaned up.
Okay, so that all happened
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the reality now.
Yeah.
But you don't know the length of time. You're not sure.
I don't know. No.
Are you just kind of counting on the 6 years, or do you think it could be a lot less?
In my mind, I'm thinking that because of factors involved, I'm going to get probation or a few months. That's what I think.
Okay, yeah,
I really
sure,
think that.
sure.
Yeah.
That's what
because
I'm
I've
thinking.
done my research and I know there's case law and I feel that I've satisfied all that case law for getting probation.
Yeah, and you know the law, man. That's the
Yeah.
other benefit
Yeah.
here. You're not naive to what's going on here. You know the
Right.
law, so you're thinking this is a temporary inconvenience.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And how long are you there in this federal wing?
I'm there till I'm sentenced. So I got in
How
May. May and December is when I finally have
Whoa,
sentencing.
whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa,
it's a long
whoa.
time, yeah.
It's a long time to reason with this reality.
Yeah, and remember, I'm a white collar guy who's never been in prison, who doesn't know that lifestyle, and I'm with the general population of the worst of society.
What's a day look like in there? What's a day? What's going on in there?
You have breakfast. It's brought there to the unit, and then there's really not
Brought
much
to your
do.
cell or brought to the unit?
It's brought to the unit, and the trustees kind of pass it out.
Okay.
And then
So you're eating in your cell each
Yeah,
day?
yeah.
Your meals are in your
Yeah.
cell? Are you let out onto the flat at all?
you're let out into the general cell block,
Mm-hmm.
and I just walk up and down because I had nothing to do, and I thought I want to exercise. I
Just walking in circles?
Yeah, and so there's a little computer there you can research cases on. I'm there when I can.
Okay.
Can you make phone calls?
With difficulty because there's 4 phones, and 2 are the black phones,
Okay.
and 2
the
of
phones
the,
are racially
and 2 are
divided.
the Mexican phones, and or Latino phones. There are
Okay.
mostly Dominicans there.
Okay.
And you definitely can't use the black phones.
Okay.
Because they need those because they're calling other prisoners in other jails.
Okay.
And so you can't use those.
They're controlling those phones.
And I make nice with the Dominicans and then let me use the phone. But yeah.
You need permission from the inmates to use the phones.
Yeah, because I'm not one of those racial groups.
You're sure not. Yeah. Are there a lot of white guys in there?
No. I only see like 1 or 2 out of the 30 or 40 at the time I'm there. Yeah.
Okay. So if you can, I know this has been a minute,
Yeah,
since you
okay.
were there, but if you can, you've got me to December now. It's time for sentencing. What has changed in you between May and December? What is different about you inside? I mean, this is tough. May to December.
You know, I told you that, I prayed when the first night I was there, I prayed. I felt really despondent. But the next morning I woke up as like I was energized and with lots of power. And I knew that I had to do certain things, I had to get ready for sentencing. So I was writing. I got a typewriter.
Okay.
You could buy typewriter there, but they didn't sell typewriter ribbons for that typewriter.
Okay.
So you had to take typewriter ribbons from another machine and
Feed
adapt them.
Okay.
So I started writing that for my sentencing, researching my case, and I started writing a novel because I'm trying to do something.
Fill time.
I was busy all the time.
Okay, back up. You have a prayer that night, and you wake up the next day with energy. You feel strengthened, buoyed.
Yeah.
And is the list of things that you think you have to do just something you formed in your mind, or you think God gave you those things?
I think God gave them to me because when I first became, I was converted when I was 10 years old, and I changed. I don't want to say I became a different person, but things came out of me. Mm-hmm. I stopped watching TV. I started reading a book a day.
Okay.
I wanted to be a Renaissance man. I wanted to have knowledge.
Yeah.
See, up on the stairway from the children's library to the adult library,
yeah,
there's a magazine section.
Yeah.
And I saw this magazine called National Review, and Bill Buckley is the editor, and he was writing all these articles about classic education and books, and I never heard of these books at school.
Yeah.
So I started reading a serious book every day.
Yeah.
And
when I met you, you were reading a book a day.
Yeah. And so I wanted this knowledge, and so I think, yes, it was instilled in me to, not waste any moment, no matter where you are.
All right, so you wake up,
yeah,
you're buoyed, you've got this list. Tell me what else is on the list. We know you're going to get to legal prep, but what else is on the list? What else do you need to do to prepare to do time? What's in your head?
I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm worried about my family. My daughter got abducted by my ex-wife, and I had no contact with her, and I'm worried about her.
So all sorts of family nightmares are happening.
And I'm worried about my wife because, as you know, you can't tell them everything bad. You can't tell people back home everything bad.
You can't use that phone to say much about what's going on inside.
Because they're going to. It's harder on them than you. So you got to always be cheerful and positive.
And the phone is monitored. You got to watch what you're saying about what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Right. You've got guards and inmates listening to those calls.
Yeah.
It's a peculiar time. You feel trapped. You feel like you're in a hole, and you can't do a doggone thing about it. That's what it feels like.
Well, you do what you can,
Exactly.
You prepare what you can,
Yeah. You start figuring out that there's a couple of things I can do, and I'm going to do those.
Yeah. As a friend of mine who's also an attorney told me, you have to think about that now you have time to do things you never could do before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's right. I've always wanted to be a writer and write some novels, and I had a lot of time to pray.
Yeah,
right. A lot of time to read the Bible, a lot of time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Bibles in there.
And, it made a big difference in my life at home because I thought about, here's a story, when I got remarried and my wife was in her 30s, and she'd always told me that she really didn't want any kids, okay? And I took that at face value.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I got to thinking about that, and I was praying about that for months and months.
Yeah.
And one day it came to me that in the next visit I should say certain words to her, and I would know exactly her feelings of her heart.
So she's visiting you in this temporary.
This is in Taft. This is months later.
Okay. You're sped up here.
Okay.
But
I
got you.
But so I felt like God was walking with me every day.
I got you. So you got close to God during this experience. Very close.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you you told me that when you first were put in the courthouse holding tank, basically, you knew this was probation to a couple of months.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now that's not occurred. We've gone from May to December.
Yeah.
We're beyond probation, and we're beyond a couple of months. You've done some time.
Right.
Hard time, actually.
Yeah.
These detention centers are not easy because you're, like you say, you're not in classification. You're in there with everybody.
Right, and there's no library. There's almost nothing.
No. It's a terrible existence. So you've hardened yourself, I guess, to this new existence to survive. You've hardened yourself a bit.
Yeah.
To get me from there to your permanently designated. Well, we got to get to sentencing. Take me to sentencing. And
Yeah.
are we going to shackle you to go to sentencing?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
Yes.
we're going to put you in an orange jumpsuit
Right.
so we can see you running through the streets if you get loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to handcuff you in the back or the front.
In the back.
Oh, in the back.
No, in the front. In the front. They
Yeah,
do
because
in the front,
sometimes
yeah.
they do back, sometimes they do
The
front.
whole- whether they do
chain
your
around the
legs,
waist.
Yeah, the waist
shackle,
chain,
the waist, the ankles,
and then down to the
everything.
ankles.
Yeah, yeah.
And then sometimes they do it so tight your steps are real shuffle steps because you can't really make a step.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you go to sentencing shackled up.
Yep.
Yeah, and you've been, is it the same judge that's calling you Jehu?
Yes.
Okay, same fella. Is he still calling you Yahoo now? What's he calling you now?
He's called me 7 different names during sentencing.
Okay, he's bouncing around. He
Yeah.
can't get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're at sentencing. Do you have a positive feeling about this?
No, I don't.
You
I
do
don't.
not.
No.
You have some discernment that says this could be the 6 years.
I have the hanging judge.
Okay. All right. He's gonna put it on you.
Do you ever think it's going to be 20?
No, I know it's not going to be that.
Okay.
The government was asking for 7 to 9, something,
All
because
right.
there's guidelines, and I've studied all those. So
Yeah,
I
and
knew
he
it was-
knows. He's not sitting there vulnerable. That's one of the great benefits of knowledge, is you're not sitting there vulnerable. You got some parameter, some boundaries on this.
And the co-defendant's got very little time, and so the judge has to consider that.
Yeah, it's got to be relative to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get too far away from that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long is sentencing?
I don't know because it's a blur to me.
Is it an hour?
No, it's probably 20 minutes.
Oh, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick. Because I know what it feels like to be released for 20 minutes outside of the facility.
Oh.
It's almost like a breather. It's all right. It's like a break. It's like, even if it's sentencing, it's like, oh man, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. Even though he got me bound up here, I'm out of the facility, right?
Yeah.
So 20 minutes is quick. You'd prefer it last a little longer. So we hustled back in. Do we know when we're getting designated? How long does that take?
You don't know. It takes a few weeks, but I don't know until I'm in transit, because the way it works is, especially if you. I had asked to be in California. This is in
So
Boston.
we've put you back in the facility. You've been sentenced to how long?
I've been sentenced to 66 months, 5.5 years.
Okay, 66 months.
Yeah.
You ready for that? I mean, did you
No.
hear that? Did you hear it and say, all right, that makes sense based on everything I've heard? Or are you shocked beyond belief?
I'm shocked beyond belief. Yeah.
Again, you're shocked. This is stunning. The reality's hit. But you know you can do time. You've done some hard time already.
Right. In fairness, my lawyer told me, you're that about 6 years. I know he was puffing a little bit, but my
He was
lawyer
trying to prep you.
Yeah, he was trying to prep me. He
Well, you
asked,
already served 6 months.
6 months,
So that
right.
is 6 years.
And he feels tough. That is a preparation 6 months, really. It makes you feel, you know what? They're not taking my spirit. I can handle this.
Yeah, I think that I look back, so my family was there, and that was the hardest thing to see them, because I knew it was hard on them.
To hear it.
Yeah.
Dad's not coming out.
Yeah.
Did they have some false belief that you were going to be released to them that day?
No, the one thing I remember is they said, "What's the matter with that judge? He's like senile."
Yeah. They knew that something's off with this guy.
And
Yeah.
the U.S. attorneys knew it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course they all knew it.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. The wheels continue to grind forward. Yeah. All right, so you get back to the facility. You mentioned transit. How long before you're transferred?
Normally it's a day,
Okay.
because what happens is the judge signs your order and then they take you right away.
Yeah.
But this judge took him almost a month to sign the order. We couldn't figure out why. But yeah, it's about a month, and then I went on a little voyage.
Okay, let's talk about the voyage. Are you in a bus or?
So on the bus, yeah.
So you get on a bus. Are you on with other inmates?
Yeah.
All right. Voyage, we're headed to different facilities, dropping men off. Where are we going?
Yep, that's right. Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got inmates on there headed to different facilities.
Right.
And you're located in Boston?
Outside of Boston.
Okay,
yeah,
so we
about an hour
start
outside.
there.
Yeah.
Where's your first stop?
We go up to upstate New York.
Oh, we're going north.
Yeah,
Okay.
some Air Force base where they shipping some people out somewhere.
So we're going to get on a plane. Some of these men are getting on planes.
Yep.
Okay, you're not.
No.
You stay. Are you shackled?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you're shackled. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So they stop for night, right? You got to stop at different facilities to sleep.
It's about 12 hours. No, it's a 12-hour bus ride.
To where? Upstate New York?
To where my final destination. So it's like 5 or 6 hours to upstate New York, and then
where?
I wind up in Rhode Island for a few weeks at some marshal's
Okay,
place,
that's
yeah.
okay. So we get out in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Is this where you think you're going?
No, this is just
We're just holding.
this is holding me. Yeah,
And we're going to wait for more inmates so that we can justify the gas on a bus.
it's like tell people it's like your UPS package, but there's no tracking number.
Yeah,
the same thing.
That's a well said statement. Yeah, there is no tracking number. And for those of you at home who have somebody headed to prison, not to scare you, but BOP.gov is where you can actually see somewhat of a tracking number on where your dad or mother is. That's where we can find out what facility you're currently at.
If they're in a federal facility, yes.
Yes.
If it's not a federal, you're not on there.
Yeah, there's no tracking number. No, that's right.
Right.
So, so you're in Rhode Island for a little bit. They don't tell you, of course, here's your itinerary. It's not a travel agency, so you're not getting a heads up on where we're going next or even when.
Right.
So where's your next stop?
Then the Brooklyn MDC. I'm
Oh,
there for
you
about
go
a-
back to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Back into New York City.
Yeah.
All right. Then, that's bad. Metropolitan Detention Center in
It's
Brooklyn.
bad.
It's
It's
terrible.
bad. It's bad.
It's a terrible
In
facility.
fact, there was a class action lawsuit that I'm a part of.
Is this where Jeffrey Epstein was killed?
He was in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But isn't that where Sean Diddy Combs is
Yeah,
right now?
yeah,
He's
'cause
there
working
now.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sean
it's
Combs
pretty
is there.
bad. It's pretty bad, and the correctional officers are high and that kind of thing. And,
Okay.
you know,
So they're on the other side of the law as well.
yeah,
Correction
And
officers.
We had no heat or electricity for 2 weeks,
Mercy.
and
Wow, that was one of my fears actually, was that there's no control of the thermostat. What happens
Yeah.
if this thing goes the wrong direction?
Yes.
And you can't do anything about
Right.
it. You know,
Right.
I had went 3 weeks before I got a change of clothes or a mattress.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Same clothes you're wearing.
Yeah,
You're washing them in your sink. What are you doing?
No, just
Wearing them
just wear them. Yeah,
for
And
3
no
weeks.
mattress, you're on
yeah.
what?
The steel.
the steel, yeah.
Steel screwed into the wall.
And you go to make a complaint, and they say we have no forms. Come back next week.
Right.
And they
Our
say,
complaint forms are out of print.
And they said, I never talked to you before. You know, that kind of.
Yeah. Our
It's
complaint
like
box
that.
is on the roof of the prison.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you're in the MDC Brooklyn. Where's next stop?
Then I get sent to Oklahoma City Transit Center.
Okay, that's a federal transit center where they land the airplanes, and when you get out of the jetway, you're in the prison.
Yep.
All right, so
exactly.
which is crazy, right? It's literally,
Yeah.
it's not like you're landing at the Oklahoma City airport and they transfer you. You're at the facility and they've got runways.
Yep.
So you get in there, and that's actually a pretty good spot. Is that the best spot you've been in yet? Of all these stops you've had?
Best, I don't know if you can call it.
I mean, yeah, we're not doing stars on a hotel, but I mean,
No, I'd say it's the worst.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
Okay, it's the worst so far.
Yep.
Okay, why?
Well, number one, you can't buy anything in commissary at all.
Okay.
Not even stamps. You
Okay.
can't. There's no paper. And I found the people in there were the toughest and baddest people that I'd seen before. I was initially bunked with a murderer guy, a Navajo guy who'd killed somebody.
And he's in your cell.
Yeah, and then I was put with a guy who was a psychotic, who was selling his medicine.
And he needed the medicine.
He needed
mentally
the medicine.
unstable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen a
I
bunch
was
of
afraid.
that.
I was afraid of my life. That's
Yeah.
what made it worse.
Yeah. Okay. Terrible experience.
Yeah.
How long are you there?
I think about 3 weeks.
Okay. So where do we go next?
Then they send me. That's when I found out I'm going to Taft.
On a bus or plane?
I take the plane out to San Bernardino Airport, and they told me when I got to Oklahoma City I was going to Taft, but I didn't know if it was the
The low?
the low or the
There's a low there and a
and the
camp.
camp. They didn't tell me.
You didn't know which. Did you know the
didn't.
differentiation between the two?
Yeah,
How did you know?
talking to other prisoners.
Oh yeah, the inmates know.
Yeah, inmates, yeah.
They informed you.
I got in, at San Bernardino Airport, got in the bus with all these folks, and we stop at the low, and there's all the
Barbed wire.
barbed wire, and I thought, okay,
Razor wire, yeah.
But fortunately, I didn't get off. Then I went to the camp.
And you were aware there was a camp out back?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I know in my head I can picture where you are now.
Yeah.
Up until now, it's been a bit of a, you're relying on your words to help me
Yeah.
understand, but now I know where you are.
Yeah.
So you head out back. What year are we talking about here? When do you arrive at Taft?
February 2019.
2019.
End
You're
of
there.
February, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So from my sentence, it was December, 3 months in transit.
Okay. 3 months moving from prison to prison to prison till you're finally at your designated facility.
Right.
This is where the federal government has designated you to spend your 66 months.
Yep, the rest of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the balance, because you've been doing time.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, what did you think of Taft? When you arrived, what was your impression?
I'd seen it before because 20 years before, I had this acquaintance who did 8 months there, and I didn't know him that well, but I told him, look, I'll watch out for your family, and I visited him, and so I'd seen it.
You'd been in visitation.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, at Taft. How about that? Wow.
So he told me about it. So
was it a deja vu moment when you get back there?
You know what? I didn't remember. I knew he'd been to a prison, but I didn't remember it was Taft.
Until later.
Yeah. Till I asked him later when I got out.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had never made the connection because you're on the inside
That's
now.
right. But it was,
what was your
not
impression
bad.
of Taft?
It was, not bad. It was tolerable. Yeah.
I always compared it to, and I was trying to see the positive side of it. I'm trying my best to talk myself into a good experience. So I saw it as like a community college, with everybody with bad wardrobes. Everybody's wearing the same doggone clothes.
Well, looking at it from the outside, when I would go to visit, it looked like a college campus. The inmates were walking around outside. There was no razor wire. There was no confinement at all on the exterior where they were walking around.
Yeah.
It just looked like a college campus to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the walking around is a little different than you envision a prison where you envision people in cells
Exactly.
and out there sitting on tables watching TVs.
Right.
Yeah, totally different than that. Yeah. That's what people see on TV as prison.
Yeah.
So you get settled in there. You're reading a book a day.
Yeah.
I get in there April of the same year, so I roll in there 2.5 months after you've been there.
That's right.
You've kind of settled in.
Yep.
You settle in pretty quick, right? I mean, it's pretty quick.
Yeah. I had to say there were some very nice people there.
Very nice.
Yeah. And so they, and I didn't know them before, but most of them, especially the ones that were like in our group, the white group or whatever, they were nice people and trying to be a human being, treat me like a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember one of the guard, because when they process you in at the low, when I self-surrendered. So when you surrender to the low, they take you around in a prison vehicle to the camp.
Yeah.
And the gentleman who took me around, his name is Grantham.
Oh, right. I remember him.
Big guy, just a large guy.
Yeah.
He looked like he was in the ZZ Top, right? He had the beard and the mustache and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And he was kind of a gruff-looking guy. If you don't know him, he can be an intimidating guy, right? So he puts me in his truck. It's a personal truck. He says, I'm going to take you back to the camp. And I don't know if this guy's taking me. I don't know where this guy's going with me, right?
Yeah.
And he's a correction officer. He's in charge of some stuff. Yeah. And he's kind of a senior guy. He's been there like 27 years. He's been there a long time. And he says, you doing okay? This is what he says to me. These are the words he said to me.
Yeah.
He said, are you doing okay? And I'm not sure if he's being cynical. I mean, I've just arrived at a prison. I don't know really where this question's coming from. And so I look over at him and he said, are you okay? I said, well, I think so. I think I'm going to make it. And he said, you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. Yeah. And then he starts driving. He goes, I want you to know something. Now, he's driving his little truck around the back. Yeah. He says, the finest people I've met in my life are back at that camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought, either you got a bad list of friends, you got a terrible network, buddy. That's what I was thinking. Or there's some good people back there. And I thought, that's a hell of a thing to say to a guy. You know, I mean, think about that. And it really reassured me that things were going to be okay. So when I get back there, do you remember the day we met?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
What do you recall about it?
Well, as a lawyer, I was used to trying to evaluate people right away. And, you watch for certain things. In 30 seconds, I knew that you're a very, very intelligent guy and that you were had a lot of talent. Not just because some people can be intelligent and not really do anything. You had a lot of talent and that you were, one of these people that always succeeds at everything. my first impression.
Yeah.
And then when you told me what your offense was, and you were in the securities industry like me.
Yeah.
And I know how those. I've read a lot of cases on that. I know the law, so I know how crazy that can be.
Yeah.
So,
I remember sharing with you the story because you asked about it, and I was intrigued that you were a lawyer. I wanted your opinion about the case, and I had Mom print the actual transcript from my sentencing because I thought it was so astounding, the things that were said in that sentencing, from the judge to the prosecutors, from the judge to my lawyers. It was just a shock. It was 3 hours, not 20 minutes. It was maybe 3.5. And I remember having you read it and giving me your impressions of it.
Yeah.
Do you recall your impressions of it?
Yes, I remember because Chesney was the judge. And
That's correct.
I thought that she was, she's a thoughtful judge.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that she didn't think you were guilty.
She did not. Yeah. And went as far as to say it.
Yes.
And try to talk me out of a plea deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember you were the first guy, because to print, that's a pain in the neck. I got to call her on the phone. She's got to call the lawyer. They've got to pay for it. It's page by page. It's got to come from San Francisco. I mean, it was a thing. But I wanted you. I trusted your judgment so much. I wanted your opinion on it. So we began to hang out together. We began to walk the track together. We attended church meetings together.
Yeah.
You had a dust up in the kitchen that I became aware of. I didn't witness it, but I became aware of it from you.
Well,
you want to relay that?
Well, you say, because you're the one of those people that you can find. So there's a Vladimir Putin joke about this I won't mention. You can find, we call a common tongue with anybody, right? You can.
Yeah.
You have the ability with people to relate about anybody.
Yeah.
And so, and I knew that. But yeah, so what happened was I got the dishwasher job, which is kind of not a very good job.
It's a bad job.
Because you get wet and it's dirty and so
You're cleaning prisoners' dishes.
yeah, with the big spray gun and everything, loading it, and I got to be fast. And so I'm there, and this guy comes from the kitchen with a tray full of chicken and trying to hide it in my area. Yeah. And I'm offended by that because I don't want to be involved in that.
Yes, another inmate.
Yeah, another inmate.
He's not in charge of cooking the chickens.
No, I think he's in the kitchen. Yeah, I think he is. And I don't want the part of that. And also, well, I want to say, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't tolerate wrongdoing.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
I just don't. And I probably, if I had time to think about it, or I may have been a little more wise about it. But of course, I immediately, when the shift is over, go talk to the CO in charge and say, "Look, this guy is the people are stealing chicken, and that's a valuable item, and that's against the rules here.
Yeah.
And I don't want any part of it. I don't want you to think I'm part of it." Okay.
Now I recall this, Jehu.
Yeah.
This piece of it, and it was you came to me with this. You explained this to me because you thought it may have been a mistake, and you came right to me with this.
Yeah.
This after that shift.
Right.
And I remember you saying this, and this really helped the situation. You said, "Listen, I thought that was our food. I thought that was inmates' food, and it looked like this guy was taking food that belonged to the other inmates, and it was offensive to me. For me, I can understand the offense. It wasn't Boy Scout offense. It wasn't homeowners association offense. It wasn't. I've got my clipboard and I'm running around here looking for stuff to tell on. It was. You thought this guy was taking food that may be tomorrow's dinner for us.
Right, or we could, we could come back for seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't have good food. I mean, we have terrible food. No. And if this guy's got a tray full of chicken and is headed out the back door with it, I could see the offense. But the mistake, and I love what you said there about if I'd thought about it a little longer, I could have made a wiser decision. Yeah. The mistake was telling the correction officer. So what does he do with that information?
Well, of course, what I should have done is tell the guy, I don't want to be a part. Take it somewhere else.
You put it in a different area.
You put it in a different area. I don't want to be part. I don't want to know anything about it. This is the way I am. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't see you. You didn't see me.
And the correction officer should have told me, young man, old guy. That's not how we do it here. I never talked to you about it. Just forget about it. And
you didn't see anything.
No. But instead, what he did, he didn't report it. Of course, he went right to the offender and said, "Watch out for this guy.
He's a rat."
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's going to tell on you.
Yeah.
Because he just came to me with it.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm the authority.
And there were rumors I heard later about this correctional officer actually stealing himself.
Sure. I think a lot of them do that.
And as an aside, when I was interviewed by the higher up police there, officers there, they said, "Oh, yeah, we know about this. We know $10,000 a month is stolen from the kitchen."
Yeah, right. This is the SIS interview,
right?
Regarding your safety, regarding your safety at the prison.
Yeah,
they were concerned about your safety.
Yeah.
So this turned into something a little bigger than reporting chicken thief stuff.
Correct. Yes.
Right. You come to me with it, and I realize instantly, whoa. This is the thing people get hurt over. This is the thing people get cut. Thing people get worse. And I happen to have a close friend who's part of that Mexican, I don't want to say gang, but the Mexican group. Let's just call him the group, who cooks my meals. He's my chef inside. He's kind of in charge of that group, and he happens to be my chef. And I remember,
it's probably
this.
Chicken destined for you.
It may have been.
I'm sorry, but
they made burritos for a group of us in the morning who needed additional protein. Some of these guys, and I think that was part of the burrito ingredients there. But I remember telling you that I needed to take this to someone. I don't want to say his name. He's a podcast watcher, and a lot of his friends watch the podcast. But I remember taking it to him, and we're friends. And I said, "Hey, listen, this happened, and I need you to know why it happened." And of course, there really isn't a explanation that's acceptable to them. But he said there's going to be repercussions. He told me, he said there are going to be repercussions for this, and I pressed him a little bit. I said, "What do you mean repercussions?" And he said, "Well, the best thing he can do if he's looking to protect himself is to do what they call roll out. He needs to roll out." And I said,
which means leave the facility.
Well, I'm going to explain it.
Yeah.
It means you need to go to camp control and explain to the officers that you don't feel safe here.
Correct.
And if you do that, they put you in solitary. They call it the SHU, the segregated housing unit, until they can find you another place to transfer to. Now, I brought you back that option. You recall that conversation. You and I had a private conversation. Sure. Do you remember your answer?
Well, I told you that, my wife lives a couple hours away, and she's
Vietnamese.
She's Thai. She's an immigrant, and there's no way, everywhere else is far away.
And English is not easy for her.
So she couldn't see me because.
So if you roll out, which is something you considered, she can't find you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I thought that she needed me. And of course, I also knew that Taft was the best place to be in the West Coast because there's the alternative. There's Lompoc, which I heard about, and there's also Hurlong, which
Mendota.
is really far. Oh, Mendota, yeah.
Yeah. But Taft is the right spot, especially for her to be able to come see you.
Yeah.
And so.
But also, I'm a little bit obstinate there because of that.
Yeah,
because,
I get it. I get it.
Why should I change to prison culture? That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I keep my own principles?
Yeah. I remember this. We had a bit of a head-butting session on this. I said, listen, you're right at a different address. You're wrong at this address. We live in a place where that is not going to work. That position you're taking is right when you live in a guard-gated community. We're not in a guard-gated community. We're in a community with folks who are criminals, including you and I. And these are the people that we sleep with. These are the people that we have breakfast with. These are the people we live with. Yeah. So we're going to have to take on a different position here. Yeah. It was a hard conversation because I was going to need to go back and explain and defend you and say, he's not leaving.
And that's your explanation to me was the biggest reason why I didn't push harder on it, because I knew that you had skin in the game now, and I didn't want to harm you or other people that were supporting me.
Yeah.
So I thought the best thing to do is I'll just avoid being in situations where that could come up. And submit to that, even though it's inconvenient for me.
Yeah, and it's against your fabric, no doubt about it. And I knew that. I knew maybe only I could understand this,
Exactly, yeah.
Right. This was a terribly awkward position. And I wasn't willing to see you hurt or harmed in this situation. I remember the visceral feeling I had, and I felt like I could get in the way of it and that I could stop it. And I remember going back, because my friend is a reasonable guy. My friend who I'm dealing with on the other side of this thing is a reasonable guy. This is not an unreasonable guy. He's not an irrational guy. Yeah. And I felt like I could communicate to him the situation. And we did. And it probably took a month of really harassing you.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
To explain some of the harassment that occurred there, because this is terrible stuff.
Three main things. First, I'd come back to my bunk and it'd be, the bedding would be covered in fish sauce or some other kind of smelly thing. I'd have to wash everything.
Yeah.
Number two, I didn't have a locker.
None of us locked our lockers.
Right, and everything was actually in bins under my bed, and they come and dump it out. They stole things
and turn it over on the floor.
And the third thing was, all our legal files had to be in a locked room.
Yeah.
And
all your documents.
All my documents, and they persuaded another CO to go unlock it so they could pour
fish sauce in your legal documents.
On my yeah.
I remember every one of these things because you would come to me after each one of them and say, this just happened.
Yeah.
And it was all I could do to say, I think this is it, because I think this is the last of it, because they've assured me that they understand you're not rolling out and that this won't happen again. That was the key, that this isn't going to happen again from your standpoint.
Right, but they wanted to make their point.
They were making it.
Yeah.
And they were making, and I think for whatever reason, that's an essential part of that culture. I don't quite get it, but we witnessed it. I mean, it's an eye for an eye. It's an essential part. Nobody's walking away from what happened in that dishwashing area.
Right, because they want to have the respect. Otherwise, they lose respect.
Exactly. It could occur again with another white guy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we got somebody else that's got something to say. So they've got to make the point clear. And I remember I got my friend to tell me, I said, who's doing it? I wanted to know who the muscle is that's doing this. I need to know. I wanted to know. I don't need to know. I wanted to know. Because I thought if I could get closer to that, I know I'm in dangerous territory, to be honest with you. I'm in a dangerous situation here. But I'm tired of witnessing what's happening to you. It's offensive to me. And so I was pressing him to find out who is ordering this, because I don't think it's you. My reasonable friend is not ordering this.
Right. And you know what's frustrating about it is really the prison, they're the ones really at fault.
The facility.
Because they let it happen, and they do it because they make their life easier just to have go along, and that's cowardly in my opinion.
They allow the inmates to run the facility. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. The inmates do run that facility, and they run all of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember him saying, look, I'm going to let you talk to one other guy, but he's not the guy doing it. He's the guy ordering it. This guy's name is Lalo. I don't know if you remember Lalo.
No, I don't.
Okay, Lalo was the guy ordering it. And Lalo is a guy, oddly, that I'm giving books to, highlighting books. He's coming back almost like coaching, success coaching. I'm coaching Lalo. I'm lifting weights with Lalo. And I don't know any of this is happening. This has gone on for a month. I'm seeing him daily. He's ordering this stuff. He knows I know you.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little offended. So I remember having this very intense, carefully worded, very cautious conversation with Lalo on my bunk. You know, you don't sit on each other's bunk.
Yeah, I never heard of this happening, so interesting. Okay.
Yeah. You know you don't sit on another man's bunk.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he and I are on my bunk. We're having a private conversation. I've asked Steve, my cellmate, to leave the cell.
Yeah.
Anybody walking by knows the energy coming from this conversation is kind of, don't go in there. I remember having a very carefully worded conversation. I mean, real careful. I'm being careful. This is a physical guy. And I said, hey, look, enough's enough.
Yeah, you made your point.
We've seen enough here. Yeah. He goes, do you really want to go here? This is what he said to me. Do you really want to go here? Do you want to be in this space? That's what he said to me. I said, I'm in this space. What are you talking about? You've asked me to coach you about how to succeed on the outside. You're acting like an animal on the inside. Dude, how are we going to ever succeed outside if you take animal behavior? I said, I don't get it, man. I said, listen, this guy's my friend, and I think it needs to end. I think it's ridiculous. I said, it really looks sophomoric, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It looks a little junior high-ish. I said, how much fist sauce can you spread around another grown man and feel good about yourself? And I started belittling the conduct, and he was quiet, real quiet. Quiet enough that I can't read it. Not quiet like I'm learning something here. Quiet like I could be overstepping.
The next bar.
Right, I could be in the area I don't want to be in. And at the end of it, he says, we're done. It's over. I don't want to talk about it again. I don't want to bring it up again. And I hope you'll keep telling me the stuff you're telling me. And that ended it.
Okay, now I know.
It ended it. But I remember I wrote home about this. I wrote home a letter explaining this carefully worded. We called it a blog, but I wrote this. And I remember thinking, this is a crazy situation. But like you say, you know, we're years away from this now. Looking back, it is sophomoric, okay? But in that culture, you know, this is how they've lived. This is how they've operated from the max to the medium to the low.
Yeah.
And who is this white guy who's got something to do with financial stuff interfering with the way we run this facility? We run this facility, not him and not his bald-headed friend. It's not you and I in charge in there. It's these guys. And we know that yard was 75% of these guys. These guys ran that yard.
Yeah.
And it was clear. You and I witnessed one of our other friends who was a lawyer, 72 men descend on his cell because he had stepped in the mop tracks of a guy mopping the unit. Do you recall that?
Yeah, yeah.
I won't say his name
I remember.
because he listens to our podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you something. You watch 72 reasonable men descend upon one man's cell prepared to tear him apart because all he did was walk in the mop steps of a guy who's an orderly trying to take care of the housing unit, but it felt disrespectful to the guy mopping. And that was enough to set off what looked to be a war. And the guy was going to be alone. There wasn't nobody going to jump in there and help him because he was a bit of a loud guy.
Yeah.
You know, nobody was going to jump in there and defend that guy. He was not the type that was going to be defended.
Yeah.
Did you witness that?
No.
You know, you heard about it, I guess.
No, I don't remember hearing about that, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. Jehu, tell us what you're doing today. You did, how much time did you do inside?
Actually, 32 months because I got a year of home confinement under the CARES Act, and I got a year off for...
So you were sent home a year early.
Yeah, and then actually, so at 2 years, actually, I got off the sentence. So
Okay.
32 months. And of course, you get some time off for good behavior, good conduct, which I got.
Right, 15% of the time.
Right. So, and you know, I had people waiting for me, friends of mine. I had a lot of friends for my whole life, and
Sure.
I had work waiting for me to do.
Right.
So mostly, I would say well-to-do people, wealthy people who have needed my assistance in getting things done for them.
Your legal mind.
Yeah. I wasn't able to practice law, but you know, I was never a courthouse lawyer anyway. I was the you know, planning and tax strategies and business strategies. That's where I enjoyed, and I think I'm pretty good at it.
You're very good at it. You're the best I've ever met at it, Jehu.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, it's funny. I'm sitting here thinking the irony of all that nonsense that you had to go through. As William Barr issued the order to evaluate every inmate in a camp to see if they're eligible to go home, they created an exam for us called Pattern to determine the several things, but basically determine whether we could go home.
Right.
You recall us getting a little slip on our bunk that said we're either qualified or not qualified for this, and you and I, of course, got the slip.
Yeah.
And many of our friends got the slip.
Right.
And many of these folks who were causing you the trouble did not.
That's right.
The slip on their bed Basically said not qualified. Now,
That's
the words
right.
were low or minimum risk. And low was not qualified, minimum was.
Well, there's also nuance to that too, because most of these guys were drug offenders.
Sure.
And so the BOP memo disqualified all drug offenders.
Right.
When the rule actually is, I'm kind of making it simple,
Yeah.
is if your drug offense caused someone to die or it involved meth,
Yeah.
then you were disqualified.
Yeah, meth was off the table. Yeah.
This wasn't the case with them. So,
Yeah.
and they were not happy about that. A lot of over 30 guys got that.
Okay. Now, oddly enough, the word had spread amongst that group, which was 70% of the yard, that you were not to be trusted.
Yep.
You were considered,
Yeah.
not because you're not trustworthy, but
Yeah.
because you can't do improper things in front of you, right?
Right,
Which
yeah.
is an odd thing to have a reputation for, right?
That's right, yeah.
Well, oddly enough, you happen to have unique knowledge and unique skills about how to get that qualification so you can go home early.
Right. So there's a guy in horticulture who I work with. That
Yeah.
means we're doing gardening
Yeah.
and so because he got to know me, he even though he's part of that group, he felt a little bit more and I said, look, this isn't right, and I'll do the documents for you. And so I did some cop outs and procedures, and I did filed habeas corpus writ for him in court.
Now, you're not talking about filling out forms for the facility. You're talking about going into federal court on behalf of
Right.
this partner
Yeah.
at horticulture
Yeah.
who's a part of that group
Right.
that was upset with you.
Right. We started the forms, but we wanted to get this over quick, and there's reasons why
Yes.
we justified it. So we got it filed. Yeah, it was filed.
And you got his designation flipped to eligible.
All of the guys, because a week later, I mean, it's something weird. The weirdest thing happened with the court because I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't handled the way it normally would be.
Yeah.
So, and basically, the government was kind of saying, well, we really don't need to answer this because we're working it out.
Yeah.
And
We're trying to solve it with a policy.
So a week after it's filed, all these guys got new designations saying they're good to go.
That's right.
And of course, this fellow was telling me, "Hey, Hand here did this for me."
Yes. The irony of it all, which I just love to see, was that these hard men who needed you in the end had to kind of succumb to this and use your unique skills to set them free.
And I didn't hold it against them that they did.
No,
that.
you didn't.
I didn't. I said,
course not.
I'm going to do for anybody. I'm going to be good to everybody. God gives His rain to the just and the unjust, so I should do the same.
Yeah. It was really fun to watch. I remember your cubicle was immediately next door to me.
Yeah.
So many of these men would come to me
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, look, is your lawyer buddy available?" And so I would almost go to where the shingle hung and say, "Hey, you got a second? I want to introduce you to somebody."
Yeah.
And we would bring them in one at a time to meet with you about their situation.
Yeah.
And they would bring their papers. They had their papers ready to go. And it was interesting to watch the humility sink in as they realized, hey, wait a minute. We're all in here together. We're all trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
And maybe we've all had a rough ride here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they forgot all about it. It was over.
The couple guys were still resistant. Yeah. I
Harsh.
know one. Yeah.
And so looking back at the whole not this experience uniquely, but the whole experience, looking back at doing time for something you didn't do, looking back at that, Jehu, how do you feel today?
Well, of course, my family is the one that suffered, and I could never do anything about that. And some of it was can't be remedied.
Yeah.
And but as far as I've always had a strong belief in God and about there's a purpose in my life.
Yeah.
Sorry. I knew from this event you're talking about, I knew I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I just knew that, and so I had a peace. And so I don't understand it. There's some things that are happening in my life, like many things have happened that I gained from that I wouldn't have got otherwise.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have had, I already had 8 kids. I just had another kid. 65 years old, I had a child.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had the time in prison to sort that out. That's what, my wife was saying she didn't want to have another kid.
Yeah.
she was just being really nice to me. She
Yeah.
didn't want to put that on me. And
Yeah.
so I figured, that never would have happened if I didn't have those months of thinking and, praying and thinking. And there's other things. Economically, of course, it was devastating, but, that I think it will work out okay,
You helped a lot of people, Jehu.
Yeah.
You helped a lot of people. Myself, I think if you weren't in there, a lot of people would have suffered more. You made a big difference.
I tried, yeah. I published my book on criminal procedure. It's on Amazon. Anybody who's in FAM,
Yeah.
my publisher will send out a free copy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A book that only you could author.
Yeah.
You know everything there is about doing time in a federal facility and all the rules
Yeah.
and the procedures that an inmate needs to know.
What's
Yeah.
the name of this book?
Yeah. What's the name
It's
of the book?
called Federal Prisoners Legal Guide. And
Federal
I still get
Prisoners Legal
questions
Guide.
every day because, look, it's not that, as someone told me, it's not that the BOP wants to inconvenience you, is that they don't want to convenience you.
That's well
right?
said.
Right? And so they screw over people every day.
Sure.
They lie to them. They don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
They play these games, and I saw it all. So I tell people, this is what you have to do. Follow this rule. Follow the procedure.
Yeah, yeah.
Do this way. Deal with, someone said the warden didn't give me an answer in time, so I can't appeal it. No, you don't. You send certified mail to the warden when you send him the request, and if he misses the deadline, you go ahead.
Yeah. You proceed.
You have to know how they think.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy doing that, and so if I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're out now and you're what they call off paper. Supervised release has ended. You're a
Yeah.
free man today.
Yep.
As you look back on that journey, do you feel like you're a different guy today?
I don't know if I'm more myself.
Yeah. You feel like you may not have been able to be your full self before?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're more authentically you.
Yeah.
Wow, what a gift. That's tremendous. I thank you for opening up to us today and,
Oh yeah.
and being
Been
here.
Great. Yeah.
Any questions you got for Jehu, Mom?
I just think that it was an opportunity for you to be where you needed to be at that particular time for those particular men who needed you. And so it was a blessing for all of this to happen, as hard as it was.
Yeah.
I just know that there was, as you said, there was a reason that this happened to you. And it was a blessing for all of these people, and probably to you too.
I met James and other great people too.
Right, and you had a baby.
Yes.
You may never have had this beautiful little AJ had you not had the time to think about it and realize what was really important.
Yep.
Well said. Yeah, really good stuff. Thank you for being here.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Love you, brother.
Okay. Love you.
Yeah,
too, sir.
thank you. Thank you. That's it.